this is what's interesting about the spiritual path, is that you start to find that like these happinesses and sadnesses and these inspirations and then these griefs, they start to come for no seeming reason. Like your mind will make up a story like, oh, it's because I just paid my taxes, or it's because I'm scared of this. But like you'll realize like, wait a minute, like I'm hanging out, and like when I was hanging out here an hour ago or yesterday, I felt great, and now for some reason this other feeling's coming, and you start to be aware that these feelings just kind of come knock at the door, and see if you'll let them in. Yeah. And they keep coming until you stop letting them in.
And that's why people like meditation and people like exercise and this stuff, because it takes you away from that. And exercise is a form of meditation, essentially, that brings you to focus on one particular thing, and you don't have to think about all of that stuff. But with exercise, you're not putting any intent behind getting that stuff out of your head and focusing on the true self and being aware. So usually when you're done exercising, you'll be on a little bit of a high, and then it goes right back again.
Comes back.
And you come back into the shit. So
unless you start putting that intention behind your exercise,
intention behind it,
and then it becomes yoga.
Right, and then it becomes yoga, but not,
not Western yoga. That becomes.
I definitely want to get into that, and so everything's too hard, too fast, too intense. It's that's the westernization of everything, and that's not what life is.
It's a searching for a high.
Yeah.
That's ego appropriation. It's trying to get high off everything.
Like all these boxing gyms are popping up in Philly, and like they're like these group boxing classes, not like true boxing gyms, and they're pretty popular right now. But it's just everyone's just like, oh well, you know, like spinning's still popular, but spinning was the thing to do, and then it was this class, and now it's this class, and now it's this class, and you're just chasing that high.
These are just fads.
Of something different, and they're just fads, and that's something that I never wanted to fall into.
That all these people seem to be doing it just because everyone else is doing it. Like, what's going on?
Oh yeah, I actually had a client that was like, like when I was talking to her about the going into the mindfulness, meditation, these things, and she was like, oh, why don't you just go to LA and find someone who's already done it and then just copy it and bring it back? And I was like,
that sounds terrible.
That's awful. I would never do that. Because I do the things that I do are the things that I believe in, and the things that I will believe will help myself and help other people, not what I think will make money. Or like, I think you can make money from this stuff and do whatever, but it's not about just bringing someone else's model to it. It's like, what am I bringing to it? What, like, I want my input to be in there and other people's input, but
it's got to be your version of it. It's got to be your path. It's your path.
So this comes back actually to, I wanted to hit on this too, about that there's only one life.
Yeah.
So my version of that right now is that if there's only one life, we're all born into that life, and we're all just experiencing the same life differently. Like, just for a short answer, that's it. Like Avit, my dog, is experiencing life differently.
Through a different filter.
Yeah, through a different filter. I'm experiencing it different than you are. John's experiencing it different than both of us, and that's just it. But it is all the same life. Like, we're all here in the same now, and
it's the same life that beats everyone's hearts. It's the same.
Yeah. So when a body dies and when a body is born, then it's just born into the same life, and that body leaves this life. We don't know what happens.
The body ceases to be animated by that life,
right?
But the life is not. The life did not die.
No.
The life just stopped animating that body.
Right. Yeah.
This is the great thing about the practice is like a Rupert Spira meditation, like an awareness meditation of like a self-inquiry, which is where, if you're not familiar with self-inquiry, it's basically stopping for a moment to observe your experience and then trying to find the separate experiencer. Like, let's say I am, let's say just for the sake of illustration, like I am agitated. Okay. So what you try to do is you try to look and find the one who's agitated. And at first the thought is, well, it's me, duh. Well, no, look at your experience. So you'll realize, okay, there's a field of vision here. There's a field of things that are seen. There is a feeling of agitation in my experience. But is there, where is the entity that is experiencing that agitation. That agitation is just being experienced by experience itself.
Yeah.
And when you observe your experience, you realize like there is nobody here experiencing this. There's just experience itself experiencing everything.
Yeah, so like,
and you can't explain this. You have to experience it yourself.
Right.
You have to have the experience.
It's very difficult to explain. So if you if you watch a Rupert Spira video on YouTube or read something he did or whatever, it can be very confusing because it's not easy to explain. It's much easier to experience it.
The explanation is just pointing to the experience.
Yeah.
And if you're listening to this and you're interested in that experience, like just all the encouragement in the world to go to investigate this stuff. Investigate your own experience.
Yeah.
How much of your experience right now, like there's people talking about, like they're having struggles with like, their race or their gender or anything. And it's right now, if you close your eyes and examine your experience, what in your experience is there to show you that you are a man or a woman or that you're any particular color? Or there's nothing. All that there is the knowing of your experience. All that there is life itself in that moment. And everything else is a superimposed belief on top of that. And we might think, okay, yeah, but they're beliefs that are there for a reason. I see my color, I see my gender, I see the world. Okay, yeah, but even all those beliefs are filtered through a bunch of other beliefs that you have that you probably haven't experienced, that you probably haven't examined yet.
What about those people who can't see?
Exactly. Yeah. So in the examining of our experience and in the inquiring into your experience, you start to realize that, wow, a lot of these things I'm walking around with every day, taken for granted, are really imaginary. Like walking through the day thinking about tomorrow. How many times have you spent a day obsessing about the next day, and then like it rained the next day and nothing happened the way you thought it was going to? Like you walked through the entire day. That's happened to me. Like, I'm thinking of, I'm gonna go do this tomorrow. It's gonna be like this, and it's gonna be like that. And then the next day something happens that doesn't even happen. I'm like, I spent so much time.
Different. Yeah.
I spent so much time yesterday living as though this was what I was walking into. Like I superimposed that onto my experience. Yeah. How much nonsense am I adding to this? So inquiring into your experience and starting to throw away some of that stuff you're adding to it, you'll find, wow, there's not a person here in this matrix experiencing life. There's just life experiencing itself, and it seems to be happening in the context of the perspective of a body. But like, is that even true? Is that just how it seems? Yeah. And if you're interested in exploring this more, you need to do it for yourself.
Yeah, you have to, like, if you get angry or something like that, like if you have a moment where you're getting angry, to sit there and just be like, am I actually anger? Like, am I actually anger? Like,
is there a person here who's angry at a situation, or is there just a matrix of experienceness in which a vibration that I'm calling anger is arising, and then a story that I'm attaching to it? Okay, what if I throw out the story? Well, then it's just a feeling that I'm calling anger. What if I don't call it anger? What if it's just, okay, then it's just a neutral vibration? Okay, then am I even angry?
Yeah, and the more you do that, the less anger comes up.
Because you're proving to yourself that this shit is imaginary.
Yeah.
Like, I'm making this story up.
And it's really interesting, too, about like thinking about the next day. Mm-hmm. I find that when I think about the next day positively, and I think about good things that are going to happen and how I want things to happen, they actually, it tends to more happen like that, because you have that intention, and then you're choosing to see the world that way, and then you wake up the next day and you're continuing to choose to see the world that day, and then you're like, oh, this happened like I thought it was going to happen. This is like what I envisioned. But it's just because you're putting, it's not like you're predicting the future. You're just putting that intention behind it, and that good energy behind it that is causing you to choose to experience the world that way, and experience the experiences that you're going to have.
You're not muddying it up with its opposite.
Right. And maybe you have a proposal and you're like, well, I can't predict if I'm going to get the proposal because that's based on other people's things, but you're doing that proposal and you're putting in, your work is going to be so much better. And it's like anything that you do, regardless of how creative you think it is or not creative you think it is, it's going to be better if you have love behind it, if you have positive energy behind it, if you have strong emotion behind it. And like certain things can come out good, like music can come out good when you have when there's pain behind it.
Uh-huh.
But behind that pain is really love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And they're like,
yeah.
So you can put it in any context, and it's going to be better. If that proposal doesn't work out, well, you put your true self into it, and you know, like, all right, well, then I probably would have been miserable in that position anyway. It might be tough right now, but I'll figure something else out where it works. And I've felt that actually throughout my whole career, like different jobs I applied for and different things that I didn't end up getting because I wasn't really feeling them. And I'm sure that they could feel that I wasn't feeling it. And it really wasn't the right thing. Like, it totally would have been miserable. It
I've
would have
had
been more
that
of the
same
same
exact experience with musical stuff. But yeah, like, did I even really want that? Was that even the way I even wanted to go? And if it didn't happen that way, it's like, well, it's probably for the better. And just taking this perspective, you're living inside yourself. Like, your source of your happiness is coming from within. It's not dependent on what's happening around you. You know that what you're doing is coming from that place of like of true selfness, and you're like, I feel good about it no matter what comes out of it.
Dude, I can't even like explain. It's so hard to explain the feeling, but over the past several months of having this, it's so hard to explain. There's just, you feel a little lighter. You like, I don't know, like as part of putting it into sensations, which is not the true self, but if you put it into sensations in a good way, like it's almost like you have this like constant chills going on, but like the good part of the chills.
Yeah.
Not the like, ooh, you know what I mean? Like you have that kind of.
It's like you feel an energy flowing through you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you feel it's life. You feel lifeness, man.